Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of Season 3 of Powered by You, a podcast produced by RBKC in collaboration with Morley Radio. My name is Zino and I am your host. Today we've partnered up with Imperial College London to explore a topic that's been making headlines and raising eyebrows. Yep, you've guessed it, the rise of AI. In saying that, we'll be discussing AI deepfakes and voice recognition fraud. As AI technology advances, so do the risks of its misuse. So join us as we explore the ethical concerns, potential solutions, and the evolving role of AI in our communities. So, and that brings us on to our guests. We have Alex Goodall from the Faculty of Engineering at Imperial College London. Alex is a PhD candidate whose research focuses on the intersection of artificial intelligence and safe reinforcement learning. Thanks for coming, Alex. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Happy to be here and kind of, share some of my experience and expertise on this subject.
Long week, or has that been a quiet one?
It's been a busy week, but making the time for stuff like this is it's fun for me as well. So yeah.
Sweet. And we have Ruben, who's a student at Morley College. How are you, Ruben?
I'm doing okay.
Excited for today's topic? Or curious?
Yeah, curious.
Okay, brilliant. So, before we dive into the AI topics, I thought let's have a quick, icebreaker session, see how Alex would and Ruben would respond to these questions. So, are you ready, Alex?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Cool. So, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received and who gave it to you?
So probably I would say my old running coach. So I used to run back in high school, and he was kind of like, I don't know the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, enjoy the process rather than the results, because you get more out of the process, you learn more, you take more away from that than just, the end result at the end of the day. So that's something like you can apply to a lot of scenarios in your life as well. So.
Okay, great. And second question would be, if you could travel anywhere in the world tomorrow, where would you go and why?
That's a really good question. Probably like New Zealand or something like that, get as far away as possible.
Have you been to New Zealand?
I've not, no, but, I'd really, I'm an outdoorsy kind of person, so, it seems like a really cool place to go.
I wonder how long the flight would be.
Yes, most of a day probably.
Yeah. And what about you, Ruben? Where would you want to travel if you could go anywhere tomorrow?
So here's a funny thing. I actually haven't been outside of the UK once in my life.
Oh.
But if I were to want to go someplace like tomorrow, right now, I'll go to Jamaica because that's where my family is from. That's where my grandma lives, where my great-grandma and grandpa lived. So, just go to my place of origin and just explore the country around there and my family.
Nice. I think Jamaica would be a nice trip, especially to visit family, get some sunshine, enjoy the beach, the vibe is always, it's always strong out there. And, okay, so the third question is, Alex, would you rather live in a world where it's always daytime or always nighttime?
I'd probably go for always daytime. When it's dark, it can get a little depressing. So, I might struggle to sleep if it's always day, but,
But I've got a solution for you.
Yeah.
You can always have curtains.
Yeah, that's true. It'd have to be pretty good curtains.
Yeah. What about you, Ruben?
This might be a bit of a hot take, but I rather prefer if it's always nighttime, because I also prefer for nightlife or for streets. Like, every time it's winter, especially in central London, I just like all the lights that go off and go on, and then it's like all the lights down Oxford Street, you can see them, and even at home, all just like it's just nice having a little lamp on for ambience.
Okay, that's interesting. So we got two different opposite answers. So the last one, this is a bit of a weird one. Would you rather have to sneeze but never actually sneeze, or have the feeling of something stuck in your eye but you can't ever get it out? What do you think, Alex?
Both are pretty bad, right? It's hard to pick. I don't know. I guess, sneeze but never sneeze. Having something stuck in your eye is really annoying. So.
What about you, Ruben?
Yeah, the same as he said. Having something in your eye is just like really, really annoying, especially for me as I wear glasses. It's like. Because it's like an extra layer of noise. Because you also go wear face, but also go get something out of your eye. It's like so super annoying. Rather just have a fake sneeze, but never actually sneeze.
Cool. All right. Well, that's it. That's interesting to get both your takes on things outside of AI. So we get to know you a bit more on a personal level. Even some of these things would never happen.
I hope not.
But yeah. So now going into the AI questions. Do you want to? So Alex, would you mind giving us just a quick
I can give you
summary of what
quick overview of like what a deepfake is. So they're kind of like AI generated images that recreate, a particular person in like photorealistic settings. They can also be videos as well, or just images. And so people have concerns about these because I guess you can kind of generate an image of someone in perhaps like a compromising way, or like incriminate them or something like this. People are worried like because these images are so good, they might hold up in a court of law or something like that.
Okay, so now we have the foundation set.
Yeah.
So that leads me to asking the question is, how do you envision AI technology evolving in the next decade in relation to deepfakes and voice recognition fraud?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, firstly, AI technologies are going to get better and better, like the ones we already have, like ChatGPT, deepfakes, like AI art and stuff like this. So they're going to get better as we get better computers. We're able to train larger models. We have more data. It's not clear to me if we'll have like a sudden advancement like we did with ChatGPT. It's not clear that will happen in the next 10 years. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's not clear to me. But
I guess we can't predict the future, but we can only assume. What about you, Ruben? Do you use ChatGPT? Do you use any AI things yourself?
So here's the thing. I don't actually use anything AI myself, but I've seen what can be used with like ChatGPT to generate text prompts, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, those can generate AI images, and I've seen how controversial they can be. Because artificially generate images generated by AI have been entered into art competitions, and some of them even won competitions. It's just been a hot topic among some of the communities I've seen. So yeah, it's definitely, even right now, it's very controversial. I don't think it's not going to change anytime soon. I think it's going to get even worse as image generation and text generation gets even better. And now we have video generation, which has gone quite better. Remember the Will Smith pasta thing? Compared to what then the more recent examples provided by OpenAI.
Okay.
Yeah, video generation has gone a long way, and I feel like it's only going to get better with time.
Right. Cool. So now we've seen the potential of what AI can do, and we can see the risks and pros and cons of AI. So the next question would be, could you explain how AI safety protocols are being developed to combat the rise of deepfakes and fraudulent voice recognition?
Yeah, so in particular with deepfakes, I know quite a few people working on like detection algorithms that are used to be able to detect a deepfake as opposed to like a real image. And I think these systems are actually quite good, particularly when you like train these models that are able to produce deepfakes. You get what you call a discriminator model out of this training process, which are literally trained to be able to discriminate between real and fake images. So like I think these are tools that we do have and we can use.
So the question is, have they been employed by different let's say corporations, like banks? Like for example with voice recognition, I think some banks are encouraging that as another way to access your account. So if someone can get hold of your voice and then can actually mimic it as well, potentially they can have a good chance at accessing your funds, and you'll become extra vulnerable rather than having an extra layer of security?
Yeah, I guess, like, I mean, it's the same thing if someone, like, gets your fingerprint. But, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't personally use, like, these voice recognition things, but I think fingerprints are fairly safe and other biometrics. But, yeah, I mean, I guess the key thing is don't give away too much of your data, right?
True. Yeah, true. But I would say a fingerprint is harder to get from someone than their voice, because we can have a phone call and someone can record you, or, for example, we're recording this podcast, so your content is out on the internet. Other celebrities have also various videos out there, and someone can just pick up their voice and just use it how they want. And we've seen that happen with, in a funny way, where people make remixes of music. Where you'd see, either Jay-Z or Drake singing a song that you would never even assume they would sing. But they could do so with this whole AI voice.
It is getting quite good now, to be fair. Which is why I personally wouldn't, I don't think it's a good idea for banks to have that as a security measure. Like, it's clearly compromised, in my opinion.
Would you agree?
I would agree. It's not really like fair to judge someone based on their voice, because people's voice can change over time. So I feel like basing someone's voice off based off like one or even 5 recordings might not be enough for like biometric security. It's just not very secure or not very accurate.
So how could we protect ourselves, would you say, from potentially putting ourselves in harm's way, potentially?
Yeah, so I guess firstly, don't use voice recognition as like a security protocol for any of your banking or like any other things you care about, right? Also, don't give away like too much of your data. I mean, when they're recreating celebrities' voices and singing voice, they're obviously using they have a lot of access to these celebrities' voices and their songs and stuff. So like these models are quite good at recreating these celebrities' voices, but I can imagine for someone like me, it would be difficult for them, but not impossible. Just don't give away too much data, basically.
Yeah, I think that's a key message to our community as well. Sometimes we don't know until it's too late, and you've got to learn the hard way. So in saying that, let's talk positive now. Are there any interesting advancements in AI safety research that you're excited about?
Yeah, so as you said at the beginning, I work in like safe reinforcement learning. So this is kind of what I'm most interested in AI safety. So I'll give you a bit of context of like what reinforcement learning is. It's kind of a way of training AI systems based on reward signals. So they use it typically in ChatGPT at the moment. So, when you get a response, you can like thumbs up it or thumbs down it. That will send a signal back to the system, and it will update its, probabilities or update its, data so that it won't produce that result or will produce that result more frequently in the future. So I'm looking at ways of incorporating this training procedure, but also making it safe so that, for example, ChatGPT stays within the guidelines that it's set. It doesn't do anything, like racist, or perhaps it doesn't lie to you or doesn't, try to deceive you in any way, right?
Yeah. I think we've seen Gemini. Was it called that? Is that Google's version of
that was
AI?
Google's most recent one.
That's been accused of, is it racism or something?
Something.
And they had to come out and apologize. Have you seen that, Ruben?
Yes, I've seen the times where like text bombs like gave me like a Scottish family, and everyone's black. It's like it had multiple issues with like with race and gender. It's like in the opposite direction, where it's like racist against white people, which can happen.
That's insane, don't you think?
So it's bad enough. I think Google took it down and is investigating.
I mean, I think the intentions there are good, right? They're trying to create more diverse images, but obviously they kind of got it slightly wrong and didn't think of the failure modes of doing something like this. So it's just a bit of an oversight.
You've got people talking though, isn't it? So
not in a good way though.
Very true. So in terms of government and how AI can come into that, so what role do you see governments and other bodies playing in ensuring the responsibilities of AI technology?
So it's important for governments to work with academics and like other stakeholders to like sort of identify the most pressing issues, right, to start with, like, for example, deepfakes or voice recognition fraud and other issues, and then trying to find solutions and start writing some ethical guidelines or some legislation that they can then enforce, right, to protect people from fraud like this that might happen in the future. I think institutions like the EU are doing like a reasonable job. They had the whole Data Protection Act a few years ago, which I thought was like quite useful for stopping these big tech companies from just, farming all your data and using it in weird ways.
So quick question. You mentioned the EU. Now, obviously, we're not part of the EU. How does that reflect how we're doing things then?
Yeah, I guess it puts more pressure on us as a country to self-regulate. So, it appears to me like a lot of EU regulation does just get imposed even on like places like the US, because the US do a lot of their business in the EU, so they have to then, the regulation effectively becomes, worldwide regulation, because if the US want to do business in the EU, like if they want to host Facebook or whatever in the EU, they have to respect these regulations. So I think we will just kind of follow the guidelines of the EU for the time being.
Okay, that is, it's always a tricky one to even think how we're going to go about it.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
And so my next question is, are there any specific, as AI continues to advance and automate various tasks, what type of skills and expertise do you believe will be high in demand in the job market of the future?
Yeah, so there's kind of two ways to go about this, right? You can kind of be on the right side of AI, I guess, like doing the research and like me have some experience with AI, or you can kind of, I think manual labor, I don't think will be touched, and stuff also like, politics, law won't be touched too much, I don't think, and creative spaces. I know there's like some debate that AR is preventing creators from but I think we'll see in a few years people shift back to actual artists. So I think like being creative, having soft skills, or just being technical are like really good.
That's a tricky one, because when you say law firms, they have some paralegals as well. Don't you think like a technology like ChatGPT could be somewhat replacing a paralegal maybe?
Yeah, I think
no?
like, yeah.
What do you think, Ruben?
Yeah, let's go for Ruben.
It requires a lot of caution, because ChatGPT can get things wrong, and if you mess up in law, they can have serious consequences in the court of law, especially if you represent the clients. So I feel like using ChatGPT where you don't want to have any margin of error is extremely risky.
Okay, that's true. If you're a client, you're going to be paying a lot of money to get represented, so you don't want to, potentially any errors coming up and you having, in terms of roles that can't be replaced by AI.
Manual jobs obviously have a higher ceiling of what needs to be automated. So I feel like, for that, I feel like AI won't be replacing humans anytime soon. As for like presenting on stage, it's actually a trick. I think it's actually more tricky than you think. So it's like we can have on human presenters. That's been the norm. However, I feel like there is a market for digital presenters, not because we have VTubers. Yes, VTubers. They have all digital personas. And it's entirely possible, because we don't see the actual face, that behind that persona is an artificial voice speaking from a text prompt. It's entirely possible that companies, or some companies, may actually forego having a person behind the voice at all, and just use an AI voice. I feel like ChatGPT 4 has gone to a point where that could be a reality. So that's probably one step towards that. But as for other industries, I feel like automating like transport, I don't think that's going to happen, especially for road-based transport. It's just too many variables to take into consideration.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting take. I never thought of it from that perspective. It's almost like you describing a stunt double being put in place when it's not actual. It's not the actor that you're seeing, but it's someone that looks like them, that mimics them, and it's very similar of their height, looks, and so yeah, that does make sense. So in saying that, you mentioned on the important point where you said law, Alex. You said stuff like law can't be touched because it has to be practiced in person.
Yeah.
You can't get a rope. But you remember, obviously, RoboCop as a movie growing up.
Nice shooting, son. What's your name? Murphy.
So my question is, we've seen various movies in the past that things have come from it. Things have materialized, and not everything that we've seen took place, but you can pick certain things out. So my question is, how close are we to realizing the concept of a RoboCop in today's world, where AI and robotics merge to create law enforcement technology? So, and what are the ethical implications of that? Because
it's quite a big question. That I mean, I'll just say.
I'll tell you why I've asked that.
Why?
But okay, do you want me to tell you why now? Or?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so as you can see here, there's been an article on 24th of January this year, 24th of January, and it was from ITV News. They're basically mentioned there's a decline in police numbers despite government recruitment drive, and these stats have been coming from the Home Office, where since they've been recording since 2003, the number has dropped. I'll link this article in the description box below. Okay. But yeah, that's the reason why I asked that question. Yeah. Is there a possible link that this will come into play?
You think they're like investing in RoboCop technologies because?
Oh, I'm not saying they're investing.
No.
I'm not making that comment. I'm saying, do you think one day the reality of AI and law enforcement could be a thing that it merges together and be deployed into community settings? And if so, what are the ethical considerations of such advancements? If that was, it's a far-fetched concept, but you never know these days.
I
never say never.
I mean, I guess in the future anything's possible, right? But I think at the moment it seems very unlikely we're close to a RoboCop scenario. I mean, there's kind of probably 4 preconditions I think of when we're going to get to RoboCop scenario. First, we have to have the actual technology, right? Which we don't really have. We're not really that close to. Second, we have to have enough people that have trust that this technology would be good at law enforcement, which people are already very skeptical of how law enforcement's conducted already, so this is also quite unlikely. And thirdly, we have to have a government that's willing to do this, and then fourthly, the people have to vote that government in, right? So
Imagine if you had a robot that had Gemini AI into it.
Right.
Oh, that would be game over. But yeah, that's. What do you think, Ruben?
I don't think anyone would trust that police force whatsoever.
That's. But yeah, it's glad to know that we're far from that. Because the only reason it's been spoken about that some sort of robots have been made for specific things. You've seen in Japan how their technology advancements are coming out, and you could see basic robots that move around in the house that would clean for you, like a robot that has a vacuum underneath it. You can program it. You got your, what's that, Alexa called? Alexa? You can talk to it. You can control your lights. So people thought, what is the next step after that?
I think the key takeaway is at the moment we have robots that are quite good at very specific things, and they can only do that very specific thing. Getting a robot like a RoboCop or something that can do loads of different things at the same time and take into consideration ethical and whatever societal things I don't see that being a reality at any time soon, right? We have systems that are good at very specific things, but being good enough at enough things to be a good law enforcement is unrealistic.
Yeah. Did you say soon or ever? It won't ever happen.
I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say never, because I mean, anything's possible in 400 years' time. Who knows? But I don't think in our lifetime we'll see something like that. No.
Okay, cool. I think that's the basis. I've covered everything now. All
Yeah.
the questions that I had. Unless anyone wants to add anything else. Oh, and one more thing. If you enjoyed the discussion, then you can join us in South Kensington on the 15th to the 16th of June for the Great Exhibition Road Festival, which is a celebration of science and the arts with hundreds of free events for all ages. The best place to go for more details about the festival would be the Great Exhibition Road Festival's website, which will be in the description box below.